Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rico here, CEO of SourceWine Asia, co-host of the Made in China podcast, and the host of the SourceWine Asia YouTube channel. Back with another one, and also Discord, by the way. We have the Discord, so definitely check that out. So I'm here with my esteemed co-host, China Mike.
Thank you. Part 2, back at you. China current events. Pretty sure everybody who's following China, doing business in China is taking note of what's been happening. Will this episode come out after your conversation with Michael Michelini?
Yeah, most likely. Because I think Michelini, the episode that I did with Michelini is next week, Tuesday, he said.
Okay.
And then the one that I recorded for our podcast should be in 3 weeks, two to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll try not to step on the toes too much of what you guys.
No, I mean we can just piggyback off of the conversation. Okay. I think me and you would have a different conversation. Anyways, cue intro.
Water, colors, falling down the page. I thought of something, but don't know how to say. Even though I travelled on the train, even if I'm standing all the way. I'm bored of summers, if you're there in the rain. Dreaming, you won't believe it. Like when it feels new but they're old feelings. Run flows for the whole evening. If I kick ball, I'd score goals for the whole season. Let it run like watercolours. Walk down the road and I thought of something. Real talk, I ain't talking rubbish. I've been here for 24 summers. There's a lot to be happy for here. I ain't seen you in 3 or 4 years. Came to my show and it was more clear. What I knew then wasn't what I saw here. At the end of it all, you're more happy. They say that it's just a word, but you're family. That makes my mum pleased too.
Boom. All right, so we're here. State of current events in China, or I guess semi-current events, depending on when you're listening to this and what happens in the meantime. But I mean, I think let's just start from the top in terms of one thing we all have to accept is COVID is here to stay. You know, COVID is out here. They're not going anywhere. COVID is here. You know, they're what do you call they're squatting. You know, they're squatters. They're chilling here. There's nothing you can do about it. We need to accept that this is part of our lives for the long term, maybe forever. And how do we work around the issue and be prepared for things like that? So the biggest issue when it comes to our stuff is obviously the travel and then the productions and shipping. You know, and we've been affected by the recent lockdown in Shanghai. Actually, we were affected by Shenzhen as well before.
Hebei.
And Hebei. But we have more productions in Shenzhen and the Shanghai area and shipments going out of those areas than Hebei. So we were not able to QC, I think it was about, I want to say 4 different productions in and around the Shanghai area. We were not able to QC or ship them for a month. Which was tough. And of course, you know, the clients in the US and stuff like that are they understand, but frustrated.
They don't understand for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a situation where it was beyond just not being able to ship something out or not finish a production run. There was really no communication with the factories. Maybe they could just give you a quick hello or something, but they were all locked down in their house. We've dealt with a wide variety of lockdowns, right? It's not just these all in ones that you're seeing in Shanghai. We've had other ones where, okay, the factory workers can come back, but under some, precaution guidelines, and maybe you can't get into that city, right? If you're from somewhere else, you're not allowed in that city. Maybe you can get into that city, but you have to do a 14-day quarantine. Even as a Chinese citizen, you have to
even if you test negative or any of that stuff, you still have to quarantine.
Yeah, so it's been a real challenge. I mean, I feel like we already talked about this on a previous podcast, but we even had a situation where the factory broke into their own factory just to get, part of an order out for us.
I think that was in the Discord exclusive.
That was in the Discord. Got to get Discord for the exclusive stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but that was something I've never had to deal with before. It's like 2-3 in the morning. It's my afternoon time. I'm talking to a factory boss. He's sending me little WeChat videos of them. Hey, what do you think this one? And it was an interesting experience.
Oh, yeah, you're out here, and I don't know if this is an appropriate joke, so we can cut it out. You're Obama on the night when Osama bin Laden was killed. Seen the Navy SEAL footage.
Incognito,
breaking into the compound.
Night vision goggles, the whole nine.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, it's just in terms of what's going on with that is you have to be nimble and creative, and also I think planning ahead is something we've been talking about for years, even before COVID, right? There's planning ahead, but especially during COVID, because it doesn't even matter if the production goes smooth and all that stuff, you still might have shipping issues, right? So with what happened in Shanghai, it's you simultaneously have shipping issues and you also have QC issues, and then you also have the production's done, but we can't go there. We can't pick up the goods. So, and then you also have the political aspect of it, and I'm sure a lot of people who pay attention to China have seen some of the news reports coming out of Shanghai and some of the Reddit posts and social media posts from the expats out there. So you want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the groups. I'm in the Reddit Shanghai sub, which is kind of a shit show. I mean, it's interesting to get people's perspective and hear their story, what they're dealing with, how many days they've been in lockdown, what kind of food they've been given. But, you also saw, it's been interesting for me to be back in the West and have these things happen here, because the media comes at you so heavy in so many different directions. And it's crazy because you saw such an influx of people. There's tens of thousands of people joining this sub. And, it was a lot of China hate articles coming and, posts that were videos of some crazy shit, but it wasn't actually in Shanghai. It was in a different city. It was from 2 years ago, stuff like that. So I guess what I'm saying is you've really had to filter out what's real and what's fake. Yep. You get these posts talking about people are dying, starving in mass numbers. And I'm just oh my God, is that true? And I know people are having trouble getting food, and I know it's a bad situation, but I know a lot of people in Shanghai. I'm in a lot of WeChat groups. I haven't seen anything, at least substantial going to that drastic of a measure. So it's just been, it's been a lot. It's been an emotional experience just viewing it from the sideline. But yeah, I think in general, it's, at the very least, this is different from what most of the world is doing. I think we can say that without question. Yeah. And I think the effects are going to be long lasting, even if it's done tomorrow. And I think you'll continue to see it be more and more difficult for foreigners to enter, and you'll see more and more
foreigners leaving.
The foreigners exiting, yes.
So, I mean, that brings us to the conversation I had with Michelini yesterday. And so about him leaving, he wants to leave soon, back to Thailand, which is where he was before the whole he was in the Philippines before, but then he was in Thailand before that. And he was just talking to me about the climate there. He's, I think, currently in Shenzhen. And he was just talking about how the other expats feel about what's going on. And there's definitely a crackdown. There's definitely a squeeze. What we've been talking about for years, but it's getting
even
more
before
and more.
Anything COVID came.
Before,
out.
But it's more and more like that. So the example that I'll give right now is to go to any location, you need to have your phone so they can scan a QR code on your WeChat, which talks about your basically biometrics. and like whether you're COVID positive or whatever, like when was the last time you got a test and these kind of things. For him, because he's got kids and they're in school, this is the justification that the government gave. They have to do mandatory testing, right? So
what is mandatory every week?
Every week, yeah. Once a week, okay. They have to do mandatory COVID testing. So they're like, and you can't skip it. It's, crazy line, all that stuff. So yeah, like it's just like a lot of madness. Like, I mean, he was talking to in the podcast that we did yesterday. He was talking to me about going to meditation, wanting to go to a meditation retreat, and even at this Buddhist monastery, they were still like, hey, you need to COVID scan QR code and all this stuff. And he's like, and every day they were asking him for that. And he's like, even when I'm trying to get away from society, like I'm still out here having to scan my QR code for the government. Like, and I was like, man, I do not miss that. Like I do not, and he's like,
I'm not going down any rabbit holes, man. But when this first started becoming an issue, this is what a lot of people were talking about. And a lot of people were saying they were crazy for suggesting that this was the, this was the motivation. And I'm not saying that it is the motivation, but it definitely seems it's at the very least one of the reactions from the government is to have this digital monitoring of everyone. And, like you said, we saw the writing on the wall prior. You saw how China went cashless before I left.
Yeah.
People talk about, they're trying to make it cashless. China was cashless. I remember, I always used to carry cash for everything. And then you get into taxis, they don't have cash. They don't have any cash. Taxis have no cash anymore.
No change.
Restaurants have no cash anymore. Every single person has a QR code,
People look at me strange in the Philippines when I'm trying to pay cashless sometimes. So they're like, why, you don't have cash? I'm like, no. Yeah. I stopped carrying. I was living in China for 5 years.
I told you I went to Dominican Republic, and I was like that too. I was just like, "Oh, can I sell you, or can I PayPal? You got cash? Yeah. How about Venmo?" And we're like, "Cash, motherfucker! Like nothing else."
I have a credit card. I have GCash. GCash is WeChat Pay, or I'll say Jifubao equivalent. Alipay. For the uninitiated. So I mean, just talking to him about the state there is just like, man, like it's so far away from anything that I know. I understand it because I saw it happening slowly. I've talked about it on the podcast about like the rules that they were implementing when you arrive through immigration and whatever, the questions that they were asking, like. And before it was random questions, now it's every single foreigner they're asking the same questions of, like, and I was just like, okay, there's definitely an aspect of you don't want us here, you don't want us around. So
how about that's why I did this, because it was 2018-19 they started taking 10 fingerprints off you when you
that was the first thing. And then I remember when we were in the Philippines for 2 months, or I was in the Philippines for 2 months, I think you were here for a month, but then when I went back, it was like that was when they started the 10 fingerprints. They'd already started that earlier that year. But then now they were asking this like 4, 5, 6 questions about what is your business in China? What are you doing this? And can you show me your documents and all that stuff? Can you show me your business license? And I'm like, God damn, man. Like, like everybody, really? Like everybody has to do this process? Like I understand, wanting to take people randomly aside and ask them to provide some evidence about what they're doing. But, so it was literally everybody in line. They were interrogating essentially. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like you're just trying to make people feel uncomfortable so they don't want to come back here. Sorry?
That's how it feels. That's how it felt.
Yeah, that's how I
imagine now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's way worse now. I mean, I guess for people that have been in China for this duration of COVID, like it's just normalized, right? But
I don't think. I don't think people in Shanghai feel that this is normal.
I mean, Shanghai is a little bit different.
That's a unique situation.
That's a little bit of a unique situation. But like, I'm just saying in the sense that like they've been doing this biometric scan stuff like for 2 years at this stage. So I think a lot of people
it didn't just all come out of nowhere once COVID came. Is your point? It's exactly right. It was moving quickly in that direction.
Yeah. So they like
to 2020.
So for like. For the locals, definitely, most of them were just like, the government's just trying to protect us. And then for the foreigners, like maybe they felt weird about it at the beginning, but like over time, it's just become like, it's part of daily life in China. They just accept it. Right.
It's wild how few people I know in China now that aren't, locals.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, it's like even, for example, like here in the Philippines, right? Like we had one of the strictest and longest lockdowns in the world, if not definitely the longest, and number 1 and number 2 strictest lockdowns. So with us, it's like it's become so normal that you wear a mask all the time. Like I remember I was in an island, Puerto Galera. And I wasn't wearing a mask because a lot of people were not wearing masks in particular. And it was like, I felt naked. It's like, it's, that feeling when you forget to wear your watch and you go outside, that's how I felt. I was like, wait, what's missing? Oh, I'm not wearing a mask. This is weird. So it's like, I've become used to that, right? It's become normalized. As much as I don't like it, it's still become a part of normal daily routine. So I think it's the same thing with some of this like stuff in mainland, the scans and the checks and things like that. Like people are just used to it right now.
Yeah, I understand that. And, the goalposts get moved farther and farther, but it's not a comforting feeling.
It's very Orwellian, very Orwellian stuff going on over there. So, okay, I guess let's bring it back to business. Like, how does that affect business moving forward, the future of manufacturing, things like that?
We were talking a little bit on the Discord exclusive. I think you just mentioned it a few minutes back as well. I think the cost of doing business has gone up. Most definitely. I think if you're going to be getting consistent orders out of China, it can't be, and you can't plan for it in a timely fashion, whereas before you might be able to make monthly orders or bi-monthly orders. Even some people were able to do. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think you need to be ordering larger amounts of products, scheduling orders well in advance, and, not keeping any stock in China. Once production and quality control checks are done, you're moving those goods to warehouses elsewhere, preferably as close as possible to your main point of sale. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of our smaller customers and startup companies and people who are in the development phase of their project being priced out, because it takes so long to work through some of these things. And then if you hit a snag or you hit a lockdown or a slowdown of a certain port, these things push you out significantly, and costs and time just keep adding up. So we're seeing, larger, mid to larger companies having the most success or being able to sustain because, they have the budget in place and oftentimes the infrastructure there already with their manufacturing chain to make larger orders and less frequent orders.
Yep. And being able to, like you said, sustain, I think is a big part. Like having those gaps where you're not making as much money, but you're able to continue placing orders or keeping your staff, your infrastructure in place. But yeah, the biggest thing, like you said, we talked about in Discord. So if you want to hear the deeper conversation, check that out, is more about like planning ahead, finding ways to make larger orders, ordering more than you need, right? At the current moment, because you just don't know. Like with the shipping situation, Shanghai situation, for example, if you get delayed by a month or a month and a half, are you able to do that? Are you able to sustain that?
And you don't know when it's going to come. We had a situation where our production was done. Yeah. We had arranged QC on a Monday. Yeah. Saturday afternoon, they got word that something was going to happen. Monday morning, we can't get into the factory anymore. I mean, we literally missed an entire shipment that got pushed back in excess of 35 days by under 48 hours, maybe under 24 hours, we could have got those out. If the lockdown happened on Tuesday, we could have got that stuff out. So you don't know when it's going to hit. You don't know when these things are going to take place. So you really have to be diligent and plan and really schedule these orders out the best you can.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you see things going in the future with all this stuff going on, the Orwellian stuff, with COVID, with, some of the transitions to other countries in terms of manufacturing?
I mean, we've talked about it a lot over the years. I think it can't happen overnight. Just China's production system and their, the logistic system in China is too developed. There's no way that it's going to happen overnight. So it will take time, but I think the push to manufacture elsewhere is going to continue to get stronger and stronger. I think there's growing sentiment from outside the world that, maybe political ideals don't align, or all of these issues that we're talking about now are too much to endure, and paying a higher price elsewhere that you can control a little better is preferable. Again, I don't think it happens overnight. Still tons of fantastic people and manufacturers in China, so it doesn't just change at the drop of a dime, but I think it'll continue to push out. I think it'll just continue to be more and more of an issue as the years go on.
Side note, was your haircut inspired by the Peaky Blinders?
Who doesn't like them some Thomas Shelby, man?
Peaky Blinders. All blind, mate. All right. So now, we've always said that Chinese government is pretty intelligent and smart and strategic, right? Of course, there's a lot of face involved. There's a lot of ego and things like this involved with their decision-making process. But I mean, they're not going to want people to stop manufacturing in China, right? Unless they can completely replace that revenue.
Yeah, I don't think they do, but it's hard to know, man. It's hard to know what the motivation is and what the ultimate goal is, to be honest with you, I can't say. As an
outsider looking in, it's just more I feel like they wanted to create a self-sustainable economy, and they wanted to basically be the number one superpower in the world, while simultaneously influencing other countries and things like that. So, I mean, that's why they did so much investment into Africa and some parts of South America and stuff like that, developing countries. And so they have those countries kind of, I guess, backing them, if you will, or pushing them, making them, the superpower that they want to be. And then they do have right now a somewhat self-sustainable economy, although the construction side of things with all the ghost condos and all that stuff like that's they have a housing economy that might collapse, but everything else, I mean, they're doing tech, they're mining and all these different things. So I think that's what their ultimate goal is, to just be we want to be the number one country in the world and just keep it very we don't want to dilute our population by having a bunch of foreigners in the country and them hooking up and changing the way China looks and our culture and all that stuff. I feel like that's what it is. It's a little bit of that, and a little bit of the, business and ego and things like that. So
it's difficult though when you're trying to influence the rest of the world who doesn't really fall into that line of thinking,
So that's where it's kind of like a catch-22, because it's like, all right, you want to influence the world, you want to be the number one country in the world, and you want to be involved in global politics, and you want countries to look at you as, oh, is China, what does China think, and all that stuff. But you have to play ball. You have to be, open to that. And then you also want to get money from the rest of the world in terms of manufacturing. If you do these things that the rest of the world doesn't agree with, then the rest of the world is going to go, well, let's find another way or another place to do our manufacturing. And over time, I feel like there's going to be a moment. Maybe it's already happening. I don't know. Like, we don't know what the government in China discusses, really. It's just like 5 people at a table making decisions for the rest of the country. So they might go like, well, maybe we've gone a little bit too far in this direction, and maybe we need to pull back, and things like that. So
we'll see.
We shall see. So that's the political segment of the Made in China podcast.
Walking on eggshells over here, man.
Well, actually, that's a good point. It's a good point that I forgot to talk about.
No, I was just going to say I'm obviously into basketball, and the situation that happened with the NBA in China was a hot button topic, and people like to say, oh, fuck LeBron James, he's a shill and this type of stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, man, you don't have as much writing on the situation as him. Yeah. You have no idea his understanding of the situation. But I just look at someone in my shoes who has so much invested there, has we have office and staff and so many relationships. It's a nuanced situation, man. I don't think it can be as cut and dry as a lot of people who aren't involved with China as deeply as we are can comprehend.
So yeah, that was part of the podcast that I did yesterday. Was we were talking about walking on eggshells, right? And it was just that aspect of like, I mean, we've always been careful in terms of what we say and things like that. Like, try to be as honest as possible, but I mean, we were doing the fucking This Is China podcast episodes, which is, it could be taken offensively by some people. But, so we've always tried to be a little bit careful, but be honest. The podcast with Michelini was just like, it's even more so now. Like, you have to be like quite careful, because the difference between before and now is like, before it would be like, okay, your WeChat gets blocked, or your whatever social media thing gets blocked in China. Now it's like you might hear a knock on the door, you know what I mean? And you might have to go answer some questions. So it's like, you do have to be a little bit more cautious about what you say these days. Luckily for us, like we are, our audience is mainly outside of China anyways. So, but I think from a YouTube perspective, I think they monitor YouTube more than they monitor like podcasts like Spotify and iTunes and stuff like that. It's wild, man. It's 2022 and we're worried about censorship.
Yeah. To the nth degree. It's crazy. It's also wild that we're in, May of 2022 and we're talking about the current situation. Because, where you are, where I am, where a lot of people who might be checking this podcast out are at, that's the furthest from what's going on, we've reverted back to normal life. So,
well, that
zero
being said,
COVID is.
That being said, yeah, I mean they do have that policy, but like I mean we talk to our staff all the time, and our staff doesn't seem to have a problem with it. Like it's more like it doesn't seem to impede on their daily life. Like they're just used to it. It's more like it inconveniences business from time to time, where they can't go to factories and things like that. So, as long as like I always try to check in with the staff. Like every week when we have our meeting, I always want to get
Chinese
engaged.
people obviously definitely roll with the punches a lot easier too. I noticed that over the years, the things that I was, upset about that were changing or didn't approve of, for them, it was just like, this is may
Yeah. I'm so as long as like the team is happy, I'm like, all right, cool. But when sometimes Imogen will ask me, is like, oh, when are you coming to China? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to come. So yeah, I was like, first of all, it's just difficult to go there, so it's like it's not even like if I could go for like a week or 2 weeks, then I would go and then come back. But it's just like with the travel situation, the quarantining and all this stuff, and then you hear about all the political stuff going on. You're like, it's not very appealing. Like, and there's no real reason to go there besides maybe touching base with some of the factories that we've been working with, and then touching base with the team. And I would rather fly the team out to the Philippines than me go there. You know what I mean? Like it's just
it's such a process, man. The extensive visa process, all the documents you have to get together, the cost, all the COVID tests, all the paperwork. You have to fly to a city that has a direct flight. You have to pay an astronomical amount of money to get into China. You just canceled your previous visa that you did have. Once you get to China, you have to go into quarantine. It's certainly going to be 14 days, could be as many as 28 or more if you happen to test positive. That's all on your dime.
You have to get permission from the local municipality to come based off of like where you're traveling to. Well.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a pretty solid company inviting you to get a visa. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's going on, guys.
So, I mean, let's end it on a positive note. I feel like we went doom and gloom for like 10 minutes straight. So not to depress everyone. But
it's not to be depressing. It's just to be honest about the current landscape and how we're navigating it and kind of what we see moving forward. It's a lot of gray area. I don't really know. Doesn't look quite as comfortable as it was before, but you can still get things done and can still figure out a way to get your goods out of the country.
So say that being said, like, I mean, the Shanghai situation, that's just one part of the country. Yes, Shanghai is a shipping hub, and in and around Shanghai is a manufacturing hub. So that will affect a lot of businesses, but Southern China is fine. I would say 80-70% of the country is fine when it comes to manufacturing. Your productions will be done. It's still going to be a very long time before people are able to transition their businesses outside of China. This is going to be a very, very long time. So China is still the main spot for manufacturing. The shipping stuff has become easier. It's become better. Like, I know we've talked about shipping issues for a long time. It has become much, much better than it was before. So just to end it on a positive note, but we do have to obviously tell you guys about what we're seeing, what's going on, and potentially what could happen in the future. And just keep that in mind. So, if you can transition your manufacturing, if that's possible, then great. But don't panic right now. That's what I would say. Mike, any parting words?
No, that's it. I pretty much have the same sentiment, and it's just take it as it comes. Join the SFA Discord to get all the most up to date status with
what's
manufacturing.
We can talk a little bit more. little bit more openly on the Discord than
most definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Check you next time, everybody.
SFA Discord, check it out. So if you want to reach out to us as podcast at sourcefinasia.com, sourcefinasia.com/made in China, at sourcefinasia on YouTube, all one word. And as Mike mentioned, we have the SFA Discord. If you go to the website, you'll see a link in our services page. And you can join the Discord. There's 3 different levels. We have the free version, which is Wildlings. We have Valerians, which is starting off right now at $9.99 a month. And then we have the Lords and Ladies, $14.99 per month to start. And there'll be different exclusive things for each tier. The free tier will have access to certain channels, but they won't have access to everything. The Lords will have access to all the channels and some exclusive content. And then the Valerians will have access to certain channels.
Just go to the website.
All the channels.
The detail of all the tiers.
And then the Lords will have even greater access. And then we are giving away. What are we giving away, Mike?
We talked about this in part 1. So if you're tuning in from part 1, this is a repeat. But we are giving away 1 brand new Z-Kit. Check us out at thezkit.com. It's a prehab training equipment. We have over 10 tools designed by a professional athletic trainer who works with NBA players. Got everything that you need in there for your home gym. You can take it with you anywhere you go on the road. If you're traveling for work, you're traveling for you're a professional athlete, traveling for a basketball job. It's a fantastic product. I use it every day. I use it with people that we train for basketball. It's the jam. Check us out, zkit.com. And that will be what we are giving away on the Discord.
On the Discord for whoever names the Discord podcast.
Got to be more catchy than what we've came up with.
Yeah, so exactly. And then we will be doing, again, tentatively monthly giveaways on Discord as well. For the active members and things like that. So, but it's going to be good. AMAs, weekly AMAs. Check us out. Join.
See you on the Discord, y'all.
All right, cheers.